The novel Throne of Fire by Rick Riordan and the second book in the King Chronicles tells the story of two siblings on their adventure to save the world from the snake god Apophis. Since the first book, Carter and Sadie are now mentors to the new magicians who were recruited after the battle at the Red Pyramid. The story first begins with Carter and Sadie with their students Jazz and Walt on a mission to steal a scroll from an Egyptian statue in a museum. When they find the scroll, Sadie accidentally triggers an alarm and sends an Egyptian griffin attacking, the scroll getting stuck to her hand, flaming, and wedding guests running. Out of more flames comes figures that also try to attack them. Also, Carter hears one of them tell him about Zia, a girl from the first book that was in form of a Shapti, which is an Egyptian retrieval statue that took form of her while she was actually locked away by the former chief lector who died before awakening her. Jazz gives Sadie a small wax statue that looks like Carter and says that Carter will be in trouble one day. The flaming figures seem to infect people badly by passing through them. Jazz tries to destroy them with a spell, but in the process puts herself in a coma. After Carter calmed down the griffin, they flew away while all the Brooklyn buildings throughout the city were covered in white flames that didn't burn them but caused a confusion, which the media called a sewer gas leak. When returning to the House of Light, which is the hidden building that is full of magicians in Brooklyn, the scroll that they have was one part of the Book of Ra, which they need to put together to awaken the sun god Ra to stop Apophis from swallowing the sun and causing chaos to the world in less than 5 days on the equinox. The next day, Sadie and Carter's uncle, Amos, comes back after recovering from being possessed by the evil god Set from the Battle of the Red Pyramid. The next day is Sadie's birthday, and she is going back to London to see her mates, even though Carter strongly opposed it. When she goes to London, she sees that her grandparents, which are also part of a long-descended line of Egyptian pharaohs, have been possessed by the vulture and baboon gods. Carter sees a vision through the scrying bowl, which is a magical item that lets you see things around the world. When Walt walks into his room, he changes the scrying bowl to Sadie through his thought, while before he was trying to find Zia, but couldn't see where she could be. When Carter looks at the bowl, he sees that his grandparents' house in London, where Sadie went, was messed up, so he quickly ran to the griffin and tried to save Sadie with Walt. When the gods threatened Sadie not to awaken the sun god, Ra, or the king of gods, they tried to attack her and her friends. While trying to flee, Sadie sees Anubis, the god of death, who gives her a magical Najiri knife. As they try to escape, a limo driver is at the corner with an ugly short man who turns out to be the dwarf god, which is one of Bath's friends that she sent to Sadie. He drives them away and brings them to a bridge, which is where the gods are weaker because flowing water weakens their connection to the Duat. She couldn't fight the gods herself, so Bess helped her and defeated the gods, while Carter and Walt showed up in the end, looking to help somehow. Next, they go to Russia, to Vlad Menshikoff's palace, to get the next scroll, where he sees him summoning Set, the god of evil, and trying to make Set help him free Apophis. As they try to escape, Set senses them, and Sadie frees Set from Menshikoff's binding spell in order for him to help her get away from the palace using the god's secret name, which gives the user power over the god. When they tried to escape, a serpent monster bit Carter, which put him in critical health. Set gave them the location for the last scroll and returned for Sadie to forget his secret name and the location of where Zia is. Bess took them through a portal that goes underwater to the next scroll, and as they wake in an amazing hotel in Alexandria, Sadie heals Carter with the wax statue and tells him about what happened. He tells Sadie to go with Walt to the next scroll while he and Bess went to find Zia. On their way to find Zia, a group of people acted very kindly to Bess and Carter in every way to help them. After reaching Zia's old village that was destroyed years ago, they find where she is sleeping and wake her, but she has no memory of them because she was a Shapti. When they bring her up from underground, they see Vlad Menshikov and the new chief lector, Michel Desjardins. They captured Bess and went to arrest Carter for trial and to trial him for execution, but he calls upon the power of Horus, the god of war, and creates a giant eagle-headed avatar and used it to knock out Vlad. While that happened, Sadie and Walt were in a desert looking for the tomb of golden mummies. When they find it, after exploring the hole in the ground, they find the ba, or spirits of mummies. They find the statue of Ptah, the god of craftsmen. It is actually blocking the way to the third scroll, and they couldn't find a way to get it. While looking, a spirit named Mad Claude, which was a Roman that was mummified, wanted to be free, but he couldn't because the mummification was done wrong for them. And when they come with what he wants to set him free, with the Nigeri knife, which is used for the opening of the mouth ceremony. Then later, Sadie figures out a way to get past the wall with a binding spell. When they break the wall and get the scroll, they need to leave, but are stopped by hundreds of mummies and that want to be freed, and they can't escape. Then they thought they could set them on fire, but get seriously burned. They hear scratching on the wall, and suddenly thousands of rats came swarming and tearing through the mummies. The god Ptah brought the rats and was in form of a farmer. He then opens a portal which leads them straight to where Carter is. They broke Bess's cage and he let out a bow. They ran away with Zia as she fainted, and Carter fell asleep from exhaustion. When he woke up, now that they have the 3 scrolls, they travel to the Duat to make a journey to awaken Ra. When they get on the sunboat, they saw how old it was from not being sailed for thousands of years. They summon a magical crew that isn't very fond of them to bring them through the Duat. On the way through the river, they came across a guardian that almost killed them, but Sadie found out that she had to read the first part of the scroll because he was part of Ra. They went down the river and through the houses of life numbered 1 to 12 by the hour of the night. But time in the Duat goes faster, so they had to move along the river. They see a waterfall up ahead that leads them to the lake of fire, but they put a protective seal against them so they don't burn up. When the boat plunges down into the lake, it is reborn, looking new. They find a 4th house, which is like a retirement home for gods. When they meet Tuaret, an old friend of Bess, they then use the 3 scrolls to find Ra, who's been sleeping for thousands of years. They wake him by speaking the spell and using the Nigeri knife, but he is still old. The time they spent caused them to miss the only gate opening for the opening of the 8th house, which meant they couldn't finish the journey, so they went along the river to see their father, which gave his life to bring back the god Osiris, god of the underworld, with her mother's Ba. They meet the moon god that gambles a game in exchange for their time to finish the quest, but they have to sacrifice their souls every time they lose a player. Bess sacrificed himself in order for them to win the game. They pass the rest of the gates and finally get to the 12th house. Here they find Vlad Menshikov, who followed them trying to find the golden scarab that is holding back Apophis. Sadie speaks a scroll while Carter turns into the 15 feet tall winged beast, and Sadie's staff turns into a huge bird as they fought off the demons. After the chief lector came and stopped Vlad, but died in the process. They spoke the last part of the scroll and finished their journey through the Duat. They arrive back in Brooklyn, where they see a huge war going on between evil magicians and demons against the House of Life. But some backed off as they saw Ra on his sunboat, still old and senile. Carter and Sadie join the fight, as well as Jazz out of her coma. Sadie then uses the power of Isis and stops the fighting, and explains what happened. Some magicians laid down their weapons, as others were angered and jump through a portal to tell the other gnomes what they have done. Nearing the end, Sadie and Carter decide to make a second video recording telling the truth of what happened, which is in the conclusion of the Throne of Fire. The next book tells the ending of the fight with the Papus, and I look forward to reading that as well. I will give this book a score of 8 because it shows a lot of action moments and exciting scenes, but it made very long parts that I felt stretched the story too much. In conclusion, I think this book was great and encourage others to read it if they can handle the length of the story. The story is very exciting and thrills me. Also, it is written with lots of detail to describe the story well and can predict what the scene looks like. Thank you.